After 10 heartwarming years, a shocking secret was discovered. My late husband's hidden child. Claire sat at the familiar wooden picnic table in her backyard, sunlight filtering through the branches overhead as laughter from the garage sale across the street floated through the air. This was Maplewood, where community spirit thrived. She could picture Tom, her late husband, grinning from ear to ear while flipping burgers at the annual barbecue, showcasing the pride he took in providing for their family. They had built a life steeped in the values of loyalty and hard work. Yet today, a lingering feeling of uncertainty clutched at her heart. She had pulled out Tom's old military uniform, intending to sell it, but instead, she found a weathered envelope tucked beneath the fabric. An unexpected rush of adrenaline filled her as she hesitated, torn between curiosity and fear. What could it possibly contain? As she tore the envelope open, a sense of foreboding washed over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, one she thought she had buried along with the pain of his absence. Inside was a letter, ink faded but the words burned into her memory. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, I must confess something that has weighed heavily on my heart. Each word felt like a lightweight punch to her chest. It revealed that Tom had fathered a child named Emily during his service. Breathing heavily, Claire felt the world tilt around her. Had the love they shared been a lie? The woman everyone admired for her unwavering strength suddenly felt small, fractured by this truth that threatened to pull her life apart. Around her, the sunny facade of Maplewood continued. Neighbors chatted without a clue of the storm brewing within her. Did you see Susan S. cookie booth? That's a great price on those vintage records. Claire's gut twisted with emotions, outraged, devastated, but also deeply conflicted. If Emily existed, what kind of life had Tom built outside of their own? Would the community stand behind her or cast her aside when they learned of this secret? Each thought tugged at the fabric of loyalty she had woven through their years together. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With resolve, Claire decided she would find Emily. She pictured the girl 16 years old, navigating a world built on uncertainty, just as Claire had when she lost Tom. Compiled with the knowledge of shame that might forge an unbridgeable gap between them, Claire hesitated. Yet what echoed louder in her mind was this stark truth. If there was one thing Tom stood for, it was resilience. The very values that had stabilized her world were the ones she feared could crumble under the weight of this hidden life. Just as she began to find strength in the thought of reaching out to Emily amidst the swirling chaos, her phone rang. It was Tom's old military buddy, a name she hadn't heard in years. Claire, you need to know there are more secrets about Tom's past that are about to come to light. The words hung heavy in the air, embedding her with a profound fear and questioning what this would mean for her family, past, present, and future. Her heart raced as she braced for what lay ahead, realizing anew that she stood not just at a crossroads, but at the very edge of discovery. Claire felt the world around her fade into a blur as the gravity of her situation settled in. She was no longer just a widow mourning her husband. She was a woman on the brink of unraveling a mystery that could rewrite everything she believed about love and family. The voice on the other end, deep but tense, shattered her thoughts. Claire, you there? Yes, I'm here. She managed to respond, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel a knot tightening in her stomach. What do you mean about Tom? Look, it's not the time or place, he said, voice low, but there are more layers to Tom's life you don't know about. You have to meet me, please. His urgency was palpable and sent chills down her spine. Claire hesitated, caught between the urge to learn more and the fear of what that information might entail. What if I don't want to? She asked, surprising herself with the defiance in her tone. Because you need to understand everything before you meet Emily. Trust me, you'll want to hear it from me. Thomas Buddy had always been relatable, someone who could find the humor in dark situations. Yet now his seriousness unsettled her. "Fine. Where and when?" she replied, a sense of resignation creeping into her words. "Tomorrow at the diner. 10 a.m. Don't be late." With that, the line went dead, leaving Claire staring at her phone in disbelief. Would she really go to meet him? The comfort of her little town and the warmth of her memories were rapidly being replaced with dread. That night, sleep evaded her. Every creak of the old house sent shivers down her spine, and every flicker of the streetlights suggested a creeping darkness in her heart. She clutched the letter tightly, laying beside her on the bed. How could she face Emily? What would she say? Would this girl even want to meet her? Morning arrived too soon, each tick of the clock echoing in her ears as she wrestled with her fears. The diner was a staple in Maplewood, lined with cheerful checkered patterns and the smell of freshly brewed coffee that beckoned her in. It seemed so normal, so untouched by the upheaval swirling within her. Taking a deep breath, Claire pushed open the diner's door, a faint jingle announcing her arrival. The usual chatter faded as heads turned, but she quickly locked her gaze on the worn booth in the back where Thomas' friend sat, looking just as uneasy as she felt. "Thanks for coming," he said, sliding over a cup of coffee, though she could hardly look at it, feeling it might spill and stain her already frayed composure. "I want the truth," she pressed, suddenly fierce. "All of it. Okay. But you're not going to like everything you hear," he warned, expression serious. She nodded, her heart pounding. If she was stepping into this world of revelations, she needed to brace herself for the answers that might shatter not just her memories of Tom, but also her understanding of family. Secrets, it turned out, were like shadows. They could grow long and dark, playing tricks on your mind. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, a commotion broke out near the entrance of the diner. Claire turned to see a young girl, her hair an unruly wave of honey brown, stepping inside with hesitant confidence. Took Claire's breath away. The resemblance to Tom was unmistakable, the same bright eyes reflecting curiosity tinged with apprehension. "Is that?" she whispered, her heart racing. The man across from her nodded slowly, his eyes wide with recognition and concern. This just got a lot more complicated. Caught between disbelief and a rush of emotion, Claire realized she was facing the hidden child that would forever change her. The weight of secrets was no longer just hers to bear. With Emily standing before her, she was left with the burning question. Would they find a way to bridge the chasm between them, or would this discovery tear their worlds apart? Emily paused at the entrance, her eyes scanning the diner, uncertain and visibly nervous. For a fleeting moment, Claire was struck by an overwhelming sense of protectiveness toward this girl, Thomas' daughter. Everything felt surreal, like a scene unfolding in slow motion. Claire could practically hear the unsteady cadence of her own heartbeat in contrast to the bustle of clinking plates and low murmurs. "Emily," the friend said, gesturing toward Claire, his voice barely more than a whisper. "This is Claire," Claire said, forcing a smile through her surprise. The warmth felt strained, like she was stepping onto shaky ground, but she pressed on. "I'm Thomas' wife." Emily's expression shifted, a complicated mix of response that Claire couldn't quite decipher. There was a flicker of recognition, a spark that lit for just a moment before it dimmed again into guardedness. "I didn't know," she hesitated, taking a hesitant step closer. I only found out about you recently." The reality of that comment slammed into Claire. She imagined Emily, living in a cocoon of secrecy, oblivious to the life and love her father held dear while nurturing a hidden truth. Claire took a deep breath, gathering the shattered pieces of her heart. "Neither did I," she murmured, feeling a lump growing in her throat. "I didn't know." "Please," the friend interjected, sensing the tension begin to weave a thick blanket of misunderstanding. "Let us take a seat and talk. It's important." Emily glanced over at the empty booth, confusion stitching her brow as she made her way to the table, unsteady but determined. Claire followed, the distance between them feeling both like a canyon and a bridge. They all slid into the booth, and the silence that filled the space grew heavy, almost oppressive. Tom's friend cleared his throat, his eyes darting between the two women. You both deserve the truth, and I think we should start from the beginning. He nervously lifted his coffee, as if searching for an anchor. Claire nodded but couldn't shake the churn of emotions swirling inside her. Would this moment bond them or deepen the chasm? What exactly do you know about Tom? She asked, her voice shaky but resolute. Emily's gaze fell to her untouched plates of pancakes, her fingers nervously tracing the edges. I found a letter from him, she replied quietly, each word laden with uncertainty. It spoke to me, to us, about a life I didn't know existed. Claire felt ice creep into her veins. So, a letter was what had drawn Emily into this reality, the same one that had shaken Claire to her core. She struggled to keep her own face neutral, aware that her reaction could define how this conversation unfolded. That letter said you'd want to meet me, Emily continued, her voice trembling slightly. But I'm still processing everything. I don't know why he didn't tell you about me. Claire nodded, swallowing hard. Neither do I. A knot tightened in her stomach, the pieces of her life feeling more tenuous than ever. We both lost him, and it seems we lost a lot more than we realized. Tom's friend shifted uncomfortably, and Claire could see the tension between him and Emily grow, each feeling the weight of expectations and betrayals in the air. Can we focus on what matters here? He urged, looking at Emily. You deserve to hear about your father, and Claire needs to understand why he never came forward. Claire turned to Emily, feeling the lump in her throat tighten. I don't want to hurt you. I just want the truth. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes as the weight of the conversation loomed large. I want it too, but what if I don't like what I find? Silence fell heavy in the booth, a fragile barrier forming between them, and yet Claire felt an unexpected flicker of empathy for the girl. They were two women from different worlds, each bearing the bruises of a love lost too soon. As the waitress approached with a pot of coffee, Claire realized with clarity that they were at a precipice, both ready and afraid to leap into unknown waters. But the truth, however painful, was a path they had to tread together. Just as Thomas' friend opened his mouth to begin unraveling the layers of Thomas' life, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, redirecting their attention. An older man, the cook, stumbled as a plate of dishes shattered onto the floor, fragments flying like pieces of their world, chaotic, uncertain, but desperately real. And in that moment, Claire couldn't help but wonder if this might be the beginning of something that could either forge a new bond or unravel what little she thought she understood. Would she and Emily emerge from this chaos united, or would it drive them further apart? The clatter of dishes shattered the silence as the cook scrambled to collect the jagged pieces from the floor. The moment, almost surreal, pulled Claire from her thoughts and back into the stark reality of the diner, the buzz of conversations, and the hum of life continuing all around them. Even as she and Emily sat in their own personal storm, Claire searched Emily's face for a reaction, and for the first time, she sensed a flicker of vulnerability in the young woman. Tears pooled at the corners of Emily's eyes, weaponized by the confusion of emotions swirling between them. Can you tell me about him? She finally managed, her voice soft but steadying. About Tom? Claire repeated, her heart in her throat. She felt like a tightrope walker balancing between grief and reality. I can, but it's complicated. There's so much I don't understand either, and maybe I'll never fully understand. Emily nodded, her hands fidgeting as she sought comfort in the edges of the table. I can handle complicated. It's been my whole life. She took a deep breath, and Claire could see a determination in her gaze. I want to know who he really was, not just from a letter. Claire felt her defenses rising, ready to protect her memories, but she knew deep down that this was not just about her anymore. It was about Emily too. They shared a connection that no one could sever now. He was kind, always cheering for me, lifting me up. He had this ability to make you feel like you could achieve anything. Claire's voice trembled slightly, as she recalled moments that felt both warm and painful. But he also had his secrets. I didn't know everything. I found photos, Emily whispered, her eyes darting as if trying to capture images from her past that no one had ever shared with her. Of him, of my mother. They looked happy. But what happened? Why didn't he ever come for me? Claire hesitated. Would revealing too much be a betrayal? Your mother, she started, allowing the words to roll slowly off her tongue, was part of his past, a part he never got over. There was a heaviness to her words that filled the air with sorrow. He loved you. He said that a couple of times to me. I guess it's why he never reached out. Maybe he thought he would hurt everyone further. Emily's brow furrowed. So he loved me but didn't he want me? That doesn't make sense. Pain pierced Claire's heart as she saw Emily's struggle for understanding. He had his reasons, Claire replied carefully, grappling with the weight of choices broken dreams created. We all have our reasons. Emily wiped her tears and let out a shaky breath. Can you acknowledge that he chose, that he prioritized his life with you? I can hardly bear the thought of being forgotten. Uncertainty twisted in Claire's stomach. He didn't forget you. He just didn't know how to reconcile everything. I think he thought he could protect us both by staying silent. Protect us? Emily shot back, her voice rising with frustration. How is this protecting anyone? Slivers of anger intertwined with sorrow, and Claire felt defensive. You think I asked for this situation? She gestured around the diner, as memories flooded back, both joyful and agonizing. I've been living this way too, wondering if he ever felt remorse, shame, or if he ever wished things were different. Their eyes locked, a storm brewing between them, both of them hanging onto emotions that were raw and real. Maybe we're more similar than we think, Emily said softly, almost to herself. The realization settled in Claire's chest. This new connection, this raw honesty could be a lifeline. Claire wanted to open up more. She wanted to find a way to help Emily understand the father she had never met, while keeping the remnants of her own heart intact. Just as Claire was about to speak again, her phone buzzed violently on the table, interrupting the sudden intimacy that had formed. Both women's eyes darted to it, as if the device held answers to questions they hadn't even thought to ask. What is it? Claire asked, her heart racing again. Looking reluctantly at Emily, she picked up the phone, a chill coursing through her. The name on the screen made her pulse quicken. Tom's friend had something to say, and somehow it felt vital. But what could that mean for their fragile understanding? Claire wondered if what was waiting on the other end could uproot the delicate bond they were attempting to build amid chaos. Would it bring them closer together, or tear them apart again? Claire's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the message on her phone. Each word felt like a stone dropping into a still pond, sending ripples throughout her mind. She had both anticipated and dreaded this moment, the possibility that Tom's past would collide with their present in a way she couldn't control. With trembling fingers, she opened the message. It was brief, just a few lines. Claire, I need to talk. It's urgent. Tom wasn't who you thought he was. The words were plain but heavy with implications, making her question everything she thought she knew. Emily leaned closer, her curiosity piqued. What does it say? She pressed, her voice almost a whisper, as if the very air they breathed was charged with tension. Claire swallowed hard. Is his friend. The name clung to her tongue like lead. He says he needs to talk to me about Tom. Emily's brow furrowed. What's urgent? I don't know. Claire's voice trembled as the full weight of uncertainty settled around them. But it doesn't sound good. Emily straightened in her seat, a mix of concern and determination flooding her features. You have to call him back. This might change everything. Claire hesitated. What if the conversation revealed more hurtful truths? What if this mystery shattered the fragile bond they were just beginning to piece together? But she could see the urgency reflected in Emily's eyes, and something deeper stirred within her, a resolve to face the secrets head-on. Okay, Claire said, steeling herself. I'll call him. As she dialed, the diner's ambience faded into the background. The chatter of customers, the clanking of dishes, and the comforting smell of coffee blurred into a distant hum. Claire's breath hitched as the phone rang, each tone swelling anticipation in her chest. Finally, the call connected, and a familiar voice filled her ear. Claire? Thank you for picking up. The man sounded strained, as if the weight of secrets pressed down on his shoulders. David, Claire replied, her voice tight. What's going on? It's about Tom, he began, his words hesitant and careful. There are things you don't know, not just about him, but about your situation too. I didn't want to come forward, but with Emily now in the picture, Claire glanced at Emily, who was holding her breath, waiting for each of David's words to unfold. Was this all related to Emily? What do you mean? Claire's voice wavered, edging into panic. I can't say everything over the phone. Can we meet? It's important. There's so much you both deserve to know. David's urgency seeped through the receiver, and Claire felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What truth could possibly be worth this kind of secrecy? She sensed a shift in the air, an impending storm, and the weight of it was suffocating. I'll be there, Claire said, her voice steadying with intention. Great. The old park near the diner. Tonight at 7. As she hung up, uncertainty loomed large. What did he say? What's going on? Emily pressed again, her eyes wide with concern. He wants to talk about Tom, Claire replied, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. Tonight? About what? Emily shot back, her frustration bubbling to the surface. Claire shook her head, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down. I'm not sure, but I think it's tied to you. Silence enveloped them for a moment, heavy with unspoken fears and hopes. Then Emily sighed, her breath escaping as a mix of steadying resolve and quivering apprehension. Whatever it is, we can face it together. Claire's heart lifted slightly, grateful for Emily's strength. But as she contemplated the meeting, one nagging question crashed like thunder in her mind. What if the truth was more than either of them could bear? The clock ticked away the moments, and the weight of the evening loomed large. Could they truly confront the past? Or would the truth send them spiraling into deeper chaos? And as they sat together in the diner, it felt like the calm before an inevitable storm. Claire's heart felt like it was lodged in her throat as the clock ticked closer to 7. The diner around them buzzed with life, unaware of the storm brewing in their small world. She looked at Emily, who was biting her nails, a habit born from nerves. Do you think he'll really tell us everything? Emily asked, her voice barely audible over the clinking glasses and distant laughter. I hope so. Claire tried to sound confident, but inside, panic clawed at her. What if the truth was too much to handle? The questions spiraled out of control. Who was Tom really? And what were the things David wanted to talk about that were so urgent? They finally stepped out of the diner, the cool evening air brushing against their skin, a stark contrast to the heat of apprehension building between them. The old park was only a few blocks away, but each step felt like walking into a dark tunnel, uncertainty and fear surrounding them. The park was dimly lit, the street lamps casting long shadows against the ground. Claire's fingers trembled slightly as she fiddled with her phone, glancing at it one last time to make sure the message was still their time was ticking, but she felt frozen. Do you think this is a bad idea? Claire stopped, turning to Emily. What if it's worse than we think? Emily shook her head, her expression firm yet soft. We have to know, Claire. Ignoring this one make it go away. Besides, we're in this together, remember? Claire took a deep breath. Emily was right. They had come this far, and it was time to face whatever lay ahead. They walked the remaining distance until the shadows shifted in the distance, revealing a figure standing by the old oak tree. David was leaning against the trunk, his face half hidden in the darkness. Thanks for coming, he greeted, his voice lower than she remembered. Just tell us what's going on, Claire said, the impatience creeping into her tone despite her efforts to stay calm. Can we sit? David motioned towards a bench nearby. They sat, the weight of the conversation thick in the air. There's so much to unpack, and it's not going to be easy. Claire felt the knot in her stomach twist tighter. Start with Tom. What is it that we don't know? David paused, his eyes scanning the ground as if searching for the right words buried beneath the leaves. Tom is not who you think he is. He had a life before you, a life that he kept secret from everyone, including me. What do you mean? Emily interjected, her brow furrowing with confusion. What life? Claire, you know about his past, but there's a child. The silence that followed was deafening. Claire felt her heart drop. What? She breathed, feeling as if the ground beneath her was giving way. David looked at her, the weight of his confession heavy in his eyes. A daughter, Claire. She's 9 years old. Tom, he never wanted you to know. He thought he could keep it hidden. Shock surged through Claire, hot and cold at the same time. She couldn't fathom the reality crashing down around her. A child? Tom had never mentioned a daughter. What did this mean for their relationship? I don't understand. Why are you telling us this now? Emily's voice shook with a mix of disbelief and concern. I thought I could keep quiet. I thought it was best for Tom. For all of us. But things are changing. And she deserves to know about her father. David's voice trembled, revealing the turmoil beneath his steady exterior. Claire's mind raced. They were just beginning to stitch their lives together. And now this? A hidden child? What did that mean for her future? David's eyes softened, drawing Claire back to the moment. I know this is a lot to take in, but you both need to decide how you want to move forward for her sake. They sat in silence, the night air thick with uncertainty. Claire's thoughts churned, while hope clashed with confusion. How could they face this? And more importantly, how would they approach a little girl who didn't even know her father was gone? As the weight of David's words settled, Claire realized one thing: life as she knew it was about to change forever. What do we do next? She asked, her voice almost a whisper. But deep down, she knew the answer wouldn't come easy. They had to face this head-on. But could they handle what was to come? The park felt colder. The shadows seemed to grow longer, as the truth hung over them like an impending thunderstorm. How would they navigate this new reality? Would they be strong enough to embrace a child who carried pieces of a past they had yet to fully understand? The air felt heavier now, each breath a reminder of the weighty secrets looming over them. David shifted uncomfortably on the bench, the flickering light from the nearby street lamp illuminating the concern etched on his face. His clear blue eyes met Claire's, and she saw a mix of guilt and resolve in his gaze. Look, he started, his voice barely above a whisper. This is going to change everything, and you two deserve the truth, no matter how painful it is. Claire nodded, urging him on. She needed to understand the full scope of this revelation. Meanwhile, Emily's fingers fidgeted with her bracelet, a symbol of their friendship now feeling oddly like a restraint in this moment of clarity. Tom had a whole life before you, Claire. It wasn't just casual. He had a partner, a woman named Sarah. They loved each other. But Sarah died a few years back. David hesitated, gauging their reactions, and Claire felt a strange tug at her heart. There was undeniably heartbreak there, tangled up in Tom's past. And the girl? Claire barely managed to murmur. What about her? Her name is Lily, David continued, his tone somber. After Sarah passed, Tom struggled. He was lost without her. I think he thought that if he kept Lily away from everyone, he could somehow protect her memory, or maybe he just didn't know how to cope. A chill ran down Claire's spine. How could Tom hide something so vital? But why now? She pressed. Why are you bringing this all up at this point? Because David swallowed hard. Tom is gone. There's no more running from this. Lily deserves to know her dad's story, to have the family that loves her. Emily's voice quavered. So what does that mean for us? Does it mean we just go find her? Shove ourselves into this girl's life? David shook his head slowly. It means you need to decide. You both have a choice to make. If you want to reach for this, you need to step into something completely unknown. But you're not alone anymore. You have each other. And we have to do this for Lily. The word family started to swirl in Claire's mind, contorting what she thought she wanted into something now profoundly different. Could she really open her heart to a child she didn't know? How would they even explain to her about Tom and the secrets he kept? As the weight of this decision settled, David pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos until he found one. Here she is, he said, passing his phone to Claire. She held it tightly, the screen displaying a little girl with wavy brown hair and bright green eyes that sparkled with innocence. Lily stood in a small meadow, surrounded by flowers, and for a fleeting moment, Claire felt a flicker of hope. Could this little girl be the bridge to the family they all needed? She's adorable, Emily said softly, voicing what Claire couldn't quite formulate. But the thought of bringing Lily into their lives felt overwhelming. "We need to talk about this, Claire," Emily urged. "We need to decide how to approach this together." Claire nodded slowly, aware that every moment was dragging them further into the unknown. "What if she hates us for complicating her life? What if she doesn't?" David replied, his gaze steady and encouraging. Silence blanketed the park again, amplifying their insecurities. Claire's heart raced at the thought of meeting Lily. She could be their answer to healing, their way to navigate the wreckage left behind. "But what if she just sees us as reminders of what she lost?" she muttered. "How do we step into that? Every family faces challenges. Maybe this little girl could change everything for us," David suggested, a thread of optimism woven through his words. The uncertainty loomed like the shadows around them, but one question flickered persistently in Claire's mind. Could they truly welcome another person into their world, especially one tethered to a past filled with so much pain? As the cool night deepened, Claire felt the stirrings of possibility and dread vying for control within her. "Okay," she finally said, her voice steadying. "Let us find her." And as they settled on that path, fresh fear raised its head. What if this decision opened doors best left closed? A gust of wind swept through the park, causing distant tree branches to creak, and Claire felt a chill run through her. They were diving into a journey with no map to follow. What awaited them at the end? Claire stared at the photo of Lily, feeling a swirl of emotions. The little girl was unaware of the storm brewing in her future, a life untouched by the weight of adult regrets and complications. Claire's heart ached at the thought of how this innocent child might be caught in the crossfire of decisions made by adults who were supposed to protect her. "Do you think she is happy?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I hope so," Claire replied, shifting her gaze back to the photo. She knew she didn't have all the answers yet, but she felt a responsibility deep in her bones. "I want to give her a chance to know who her dad was, who we are." David nodded, his eyes serious. "We need to be careful, though. Just because we want her in our lives doesn't mean she'll accept us. Could trigger so much pain for her." The weight of his words hung in the air. Opening old wounds wasn't just about their past. It was about Lily's present and her future. Silence descended again, thick and uncomfortable. Claire could feel the weight of expectation bearing down on them, each of them processing how everything was about to shift. "If we do this, we should be honest," Claire finally said, voice breaking slightly. I owe her that much. She deserves to know who Tom was, but she deserves to know the truth about us too." "What if it devastates her?" Emily countered, biting her lip. "Or what if it brings her some sort of closure?" David chimed in, ever the optimistic voice. Claire gazed back at the photo. She couldn't shake the feeling that revealing Lily's existence felt like both a gift and a burden. It was as if they were reaching for something precious, but the fear of what lay ahead constricted her heart. "We can't let fear guide us," Claire said firmly, a new resolve blooming within her. "We need to find Lily. We have to try to reach out." All three shared a glance filled with uncertainty and determination, a pact forming silently in the night, as if the park itself was bearing witness to their decision. "Let us just start with some research," Emily suggested, her voice suddenly tinged with a hint of excitement. "We can find her. There must be ways to trace her. Maybe there are school records or social media." David readily agreed. "I'll dig into anything I can find on Tom's past. See if I can locate any family or mutual friends who might know about her." Claire swallowed hard, her heart racing. They were on the precipice of something monumental, and each choice felt as heavy as a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples of potential in all directions. "Okay," Claire said slowly. "I'll make a list of everything we need to find. We'll take this one step at a time." They all nodded, a shared sense of purpose igniting amongst them. This was the first step into the unknown, and while each of them felt the fear, an unspoken bond began to replace it. The need to protect and support this little girl, to open themselves up to a world that was now profoundly larger than it had ever been before. As the night drew deeper, the little glow of the street lamp flickered like a distant hope. Claire caught herself thinking that maybe, just maybe, They could be the family Lily needed if they could only find her. Tomorrow we start, David said with a hint of challenge, breaking through the heavy atmosphere. We owe it to her. The thought stirred something warm and hopeful inside Claire, mingling with her anxiety. What if they could do it? What if their journey led them to a destiny they never expected? As they rose to leave the park, the shadows danced around them, but there was a new energy among the three of them. What awaited them in the light of day? What if the past they sought to navigate had more twists than they could anticipate? The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow over Claire's kitchen. She sat at the table, the sound of the coffee pot gurgling in the background making her feel grounded. Yet the fluttering in her stomach reminded her of the task ahead. Today was the day they would begin their search for Lily. David arrived early, his expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Ready for this?" he asked, taking a seat across from her, the brightness of his eyes hinting at his underlying hopefulness. "More like nervous, but I think it's time." "She deserves to know," Claire replied, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. The aroma filled the air, trying to mask the tension that swirled between them. Emily joined them a short while later, her hair tousled but her energy infectious. "So what's the plan?" she asked, breaking into a wide smile that slipped away the moment she looked at Claire's face. "We should start by gathering any information we can about Tom's life. Whatever we can find," David suggested, his hands animated as he talked. "Once we piece together some basics, we can look into public records." Claire nodded, feeling the heaviness of their mission settle into her chest. "I can dig into social media. I've seen people find others that way." The trio set up their camp in Claire's living room, laptops and notepads scattered around. They dove into research, the minutes turning into hours. Each click of the keyboard felt like a step deeper into the unknown. Claire scrolled through Tom's old friends and acquaintances, each name sparking memories he had long shared with her. She found herself pausing often, a small smile creeping onto her face before reality snapped her back. This wasn't just a trip down memory lane. It was about a little girl they had never met. "Wait, look at this," Emily exclaimed, her voice pulling Claire away from her thoughts. She leaned over Emily's laptop, glancing at a sparkling red-haired young woman. "This could be Tom's sister," Emily said, pointing to the name beneath the photo, a name Claire recognized from the past. David leaned in closer, intrigued. "Should we reach out?" Claire hesitated, feeling both the weight of hope and fear coiling inside her. What if she doesn't want to talk? What if we upset her? Or what if she knows about Lily? Emily countered, her excitement contagious. "This could be the break we need." With an unexpected surge of courage, Claire spoke up. "Let us send her a message. Just a friendly introduction, nothing heavy." The resolve in her voice surprised even herself. She took a deep breath and initiated the message, clicking send like it was a leap off the edge of a cliff. As they waited for a response, the air around them felt electric. Each minute dragged on, and Claire's imagination ran wild with possibilities. Would Tom's sister welcome them? Would she help them find Lily? Or would she turn them away, seeing their effort as an intrusion into a painful history? When the notification finally pinged, they all jumped, eyes wide. Claire's heart raced as she opened the message. What if it held answers to questions she didn't yet have the courage to ask? As she read the brief but warm reply, relief flooded through her body. But buried below the surface of that relief was something else, something about to turn their search on its head. In the last line, Tom's sister had written, "I can't wait to talk. But first, there's something you should know." Claire's heart dropped. What could it be? Their lives were about to change yet again, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of unforeseen twists lurking in the shadows. What awaited them on the other side of this revelation? Claire's breath hung in the air, heavy with trepidation as she reread the last line. There's something you should know. What could possibly be hidden within these words? The unraveling of Tom's life had already exposed a tangled web of secrets, and yet, it seemed there were still layers to peel back. Emily leaned closer, her eyes glimmering with curiosity. "What does it say? What do you think she means?" "I don't know," but I feel like we're standing on the edge of another cliff, Claire admitted, her fingers shaking slightly as she typed a response. I'm gonna ask her what she means. David, who had been watching silently, interjected. Just remember to tread lightly. We don't know what kind of emotions this could stir. Their eyes turned back to the screen, watching for that familiar notification sound. A haunting silence enveloping them as each tick of the clock intensified the discomfort of waiting. After what felt like an eternity, the phone vibrated again, pulling them from their anxious reverie. Claire's heart raced as she opened the message. The words were straightforward, yet they carried a weight that felt almost palpable. Tom had some unresolved issues regarding Lily's birth. It read, "Before you meet her, you need to know he wasn't her biological father." Shock rippled through Claire, twisting her insides. What does that even mean? She said aloud, her face paling. How could he keep something like that from me, from Emily? Emily's face transformed from eagerness to confusion. But if he wasn't her biological father, then who was? David rubbed his chin, considering the angle of this new revelation. That raises a lot more questions. It sounds like Tom had a past with her mother that we still don't fully understand. An unsettling feeling churned in Claire's stomach. This could change everything: how we approach Lily, how we understand Tom. With a mix of urgency and discomfort, they decided to arrange a meeting with Tom's sister at the nearby cafe, the same one Claire used to frequent with Tom. The thought of stepping back into that familiar space sent a shiver of nostalgia mingled with anxiety down her spine. As they arrived, Claire's heart raced. The cafe buzzed around them, but everything felt muffled as she focused on the task ahead. Was Tom's sister holding the key to this hidden world? A world where their pasts collided with the emerging future of a little girl who had already been through so much? When Susan, Tom's sister, finally arrived, her face was lined with concern, and Claire felt a gust of empathy crash over her. This was a woman who had lost her brother, just as Claire had. They exchanged awkward greetings before settling in at a secluded table in the back. "I'm so sorry about Tom," Susan immediately said, her voice cracking. "I wish things were different." Claire nodded, feeling the heaviness of shared grief and the complexities surrounding it. "Could you help us understand what you meant in your message?" Susan glanced down, her fingers twisting anxiously around her coffee mug. "There were things I didn't know how to tell him before I lost him. Things that happened with Lily's mother, Sarah." "What do you mean?" Emily asked, leaning in, eager to piece together the timeline. Sarah was incredible but troubled. She and Tom met in a whirlwind of passion, but their lives took a sharp turn when she became pregnant. Tom loved her, but there were always doubts, fears that the child wouldn't be his. In a sense, he tried to erase that doubt for his own peace. But how could he make us believe he was her father? Claire whispered, feeling the ground beneath her shift dramatically. The very foundation of who Tom had been was becoming unrecognizable with every word spoken. Susan hesitated, searching for the right words. After Sarah passed, Tom struggled. He felt an overwhelming obligation to protect her memory, and in doing so, he kept secrets. He kept Lily from everyone, even from you. I think he thought he was doing what was best. Claire's heart sank. Fragments of memories of a life together now twisted and warped by the truth. But how does this help us move forward? What do we tell Lily? Susan leaned forward, her eyes steady. You share love and honesty. If what you want is to create a family, start fresh for Lily's sake. It won't be easy. This truth might rip her world even further apart. But honesty, Claire, is the only way. You can't protect her from who Tom really was or what he did. The conversation felt monumental, as if Claire's whole universe had shifted with each passing moment. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders, but also an overwhelming hope. She deserves a chance to know the truth, a chance to understand her connection to both of you, Susan added, a slight tremor of determination making its way into her voice. Claire glanced at Emily, who nodded, sensing the gravity of the moment. They all shared an understanding, a need for healing born from adversity. All right, Claire said finally, feeling a glimmer of resolve. If we're doing this, let us find Lily and tell her. We'll be honest and open with no more secrets. A new chapter beckoned a chance to build a family, to weave together love, honesty, and hope amidst the scars of the past. It wouldn't be without challenges, but deep down, Claire felt a spark that had long been missing, the belief that together, they could create something beautiful from the ashes of secrets long buried. As they left the cafe, the weight of responsibility transformed into a glimmer of hope. Life would never be the same, but they had each other and the courage to face whatever lay ahead, for Lily's sake and their own. This was their moment. Now more than ever, if you're loving this journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that await. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm, letting everyone know that these stories matter. Comment your heartfelt reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. I want to hear your thoughts. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. All of us need hope woven into our lives. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Be a part of this community and let us dive into more stories together.